Welcome everybody into another edition of the Living Deadwax podcast. I am your host, co-moderator, co-host Ty. I am joined by my always co-host, always co-moderator, one of my best friends, Tyler. Tyler, how the hell are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, brother. We're experiencing some stormage outside, which may or may not knock this entire thing in the dirt, but we'll see. Let's cross fingers and hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had the power go out, so we shall see.
Yeah, that's always a fun deal. I've woken up a few times here with the power out. Unfortunately, during the summer, and never during winter. So, not that you ever want to lose power, but at least in winter you can get warmer, just like whatever. But you can't get colder without, help in the summer here. So
exactly
that sucks a lot. But waking up at again, people that are not located here in the great state of Arizona, maybe you won't have the appreciation for it. Some other places too. But if you wake up from heat at about 4:30 in the morning, it is one of the most dreadful experiences ever, because you're just sweating your dick off at 4:30 in the morning, and you're like, why is that? And then you kind of move your hands around, and you're like, oh, it's because there's no airflow and the power's out, and just horrible. So I hope this all works out pretty soon, and whatever. But
it's also just completely silent in the house too.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
You instantly know something happened.
True. You don't ever understand how loud appliances are, even if they're not loud. But you don't understand until you hear oh wait, the refrigerator is not on. That is true. The compressor is not clicking at all. So even if your fridge is not loud, there's still a sound to it that you don't hear until you don't hear it.
Exactly.
Then it's like you don't know what you got till it's gone, kind of thing. Cinderella. But it's the same deal, exactly.
We're finally getting the rain that's Southern California. It's just been raining nonstop in Southern California. I follow a couple guys online, YouTubers and stuff. One guy had his whole game room, his shed completely flooded.
Oh, fuck me.
Really sad.
Is it the same guy that had it happen before with one of the
It's the Pixel retro Pixel Game Squad guys.
Okay. Are those who's the guys that broke up and they got back together?
They never really broke up, but they stopped and then they came back as a different channel. Yes, you're probably thinking of the same guys.
Yeah. Didn't his game room already flood once?
His game room, he has a shed in the backyard and they built it.
Yeah.
And they didn't the guy who built it for him didn't build it really well. And then I think they had a bad storm there or something. And then the roof leaked really bad and he lost so much shit. And then they redid it. And the roof I was watching his update video and the roof held up really nicely. Problem was, just like here, there's not great drainage.
No.
So when you just get days and days of rain, the rain has nowhere to go and it just built up and leaked into the room. So he had a couple inches of water in there. So anything that was on the ground was gone, ruined, and probably lost consoles and shit. He hasn't done another update, so
I mean, me and you just talked about that because we were talking late at night and had the weird paranoia. I was like, what if my apartment floods? And you're like, well, anything could happen. It could flood at any time. That's true. But we were talking about putting the legs on the IKEA calyxes and putting just legs in the ends in the middle, whatever, just to have it raised to 3 or 4 inches or so. And as we all know, 3 or 4 inches is a lot here on this channel. So if we raise those up a little bit, we rose those 3 or 4 inches. It might save some stuff, But something that I didn't understand until the paint shop when I was in high school flooded, right? Not sketchy at all, not insurance fraud. Everything was on the up and up, surely. But when the offices flooded, I didn't realize that how much water goes up the walls, even if it doesn't touch the wall, because the moisture just travels up and then it just goes and goes and it'll take whatever it can or whatever, with it. So even if I raise I was thinking about this later, even if I raise my shelves up the 3 or 4 inches of the legs, I don't know how it's all going to work. Like, whatever. It's probably never going to flood inches high, but there's still, unfortunately, the possibility the moisture just travels up anyway, and it still, logs your stuff. Fucking nightmare.
Yeah, but you potentially not be sitting directly in water, whereas
for sure,
because the bottom of those shelves are a couple inches, so you could buy another 3 or 4 inches. So yeah, it's just.
I wonder. We haven't done it personally. We have never tried to see if the sleeves are watertight.
Yeah, very true. Just put like I don't know. Put like a Willie Nelson record in there or something and try it. I don't know why I chose Willie Nelson. I was looking for somebody to put in there, and I just couldn't think of anyone.
Willie.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't experience that much of crazy weather here in Arizona. That's why most people live here, because it's just hot.
It's true.
And you don't have to deal with tornadoes or hurricanes or anything. So hopefully this passes and we're fine. It's actually it was already starting to stop when we got on. So
that's true. Unfortunately, I've made that sales pitch apparently too many times. When everybody in here talks shit about Arizona, I will immediately go, listen, it is hot as shit here. It is very hot. Okay. It is really unfortunately hot. Right. But you only worry about something in the summertime with the heat. That's the only thing you really worry about. You never worry about anything else, luckily. And I think, like you said, most people have taken notice of that and have noticed, like, hey, every other state we live in has something. And Arizona, I think it's Arizona and like New Mexico that doesn't. I think we're the only 2 states that, like, for the most part, overall, don't have any sort of natural disasterage besides heat.
Yeah. I'm working. This is a side rant, but I am not a New Mexico fan, so it's just bad. Arizona.
You've been there a few times recently.
I've been there a few times for work, and I've been through there before in my life, and it's not no offense to New Mexico, but it's just a worse Arizona. Like there's it's just less mountainous, it's less pretty, it's just less of everything. No,
there's a reason why New Mexico isn't like Arizona East, right? There's no reason that's not called that, because it sucks more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simpsons. There's a New Mexico.
Exactly. Yeah.
All righty, Tyler. Let's get into the main topic tonight. Right. We always pick a specific topic to dive into, and if you are new here, thank you so much for joining us. If you're coming back, thanks for coming back. Hit the subscribe, comment down below. Tyler, you chose tonight's topic. We always alternate weeks. What did you choose?
All right. So I'm always a big fan of these. So I know other people maybe not so much. But I always love live records. So I was doing top 5 live records. Our personal favorites, not of all time really, because I know like we're gonna hit maybe a couple of the big boppers, but for the most part, just personal favorite live records from the bands that we love. So I'd be curious about that. I'm actually very curious about Ty's, because this is something me and Ty haven't necessarily touched on too much in the last 15 years of friendship, about favorite live records from bands. I don't think we've talked about this too much.
True. I think you have more of an appreciation of them than me. But this week revisiting stuff has been fun, and revisiting stuff that I haven't listened to in a long time. So that was very cool. Yeah. So anyways, we'll go back and forth, kind of alternate. I brought a good chunk here. I'll do 5 and then do some honorables. So if you want to kick us off with your first live album, let's get it going.
All right. So my first live record, this is my, so some of these are not, like the thing about it is like the conversation you get into with people about this stuff is like, well, that record's not live. So, right. That's a lot of conversation, because a lot of records are not live,
some of those.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Right. So like, this one is mostly not live. Like there's like bare bones of it that are maybe, but for the most part, not live. And this is my first ever live record that I ever really took notice of and wanted in my life. Blink-182, Mark, Tom, and Travis show. So this came out in 2000. Just came off the Enema tour. And it's a great record. I like it a lot. It's very clean. It's very, very clean. As far as I know, most of it has been overdubbed and most of it has just been completely reworked in the studio because they all sound way too good. And that's fine with me. Whatever. Like there's good vibes on it. And I just remember that when I was doing LimeWire stuff, downloading Blink 182 LimeWire stuff was almost impossible for a lot of times because there was so many tracks on here. There was like 59 tracks of joke songs, and each one was separately available to download on LimeWire. So I would find like joke tracks that I didn't know were joke tracks. But they were so small that I was like, I can get a Blink-182 song, you know, that would download super quick on my dial-up AOL connection. I want to go and do that. So I would like download every joke track and listen to, like, oh, it's a joke track, and then like go to the next one and like do the same thing over and over again, right? But yeah, you know, it's very funny. They're very funny, you know, little joke, you know, back and forth live stuff. But I don't even think that those are even lives. That's another little weird thing they did in the studio at the time. But you know, I don't know. There you go.
Yeah. I remember when that came out.
Yeah.
I remember Josh buying that. And so I've listened to that quite a number of times.
Yeah, it's a cool record. I mean, it has all the songs you want on here. Here's I think this is the first pressing, the Splatter. Me and you picked this up like I want to say like Rextra Day like 2012 maybe. It didn't come out on Rextra Day, but it got turned in and they put it on the wall full Rextra Day, so I bought it that day or whatever. Oh, okay. Yeah, so super stoked to have it. It has all the songs. Oh yeah, hold on. So
I don't remember what it looks like.
All the song tracks and the thank yous, all that.
Gotcha.
So I believe it's just the same as the CD. I just remember also when we were in high school, like because this obviously was not available on vinyl at the time. This is later coming. But I remember the CD was rare. So we just talked about this a couple days ago. The used CD, like the hot, like new used or whatever, like hot arrivals, the CD section at Via. I would go through there with my buddies every single Friday night or whatever and look for Mark, Tom, and Travis show because it was almost impossible to find because I don't think they pressed a lot of them necessarily. It's not rare, but they weren't really out there a lot of the time. So like I remember buying 2 copies when I found it eventually because I was like, oh shit, like, you know, I bought one, I bought the other. The next one I found, I was like, oh, because these are going to be worth $1 billion. Like this is so rare or whatever. I remember doing that. And they're not rare. It's just, you know, a little harder to find than Enema is, I guess, right? So whatever. But it's that era. So it's every song you want. And they touch on, you know, everything you want, really. Like they go back to Cheshire stuff with Carousel. And there's not also Dick Lips is renamed Rich Lips on here. So that's good.
That's
but
funny.
Blowjob is Blue Job.
Nice.
So they kind of changed it a little bit here.
Are they all like that? Is the CD like that too?
I believe so. Yeah, the CD's over there somewhere, but I believe they all are all like that too. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also the same, like kind of like because there's the music video for like All the Small Things or whatever, and it has the Travis I'm Pregnant. It has that on here too. The girl with that, and you know all that stuff. But this is a very hot, like a very glossy. I wouldn't say it's not raised. It's not, you know. But like it's not just a normal jacket here. It's very glossy and almost like sticker like. It's very cool.
Oh, cool. It does look like that. It lends itself to the artwork.
Absolutely, 100%. And this was a background on my family computer. This is a background for a good long while.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, that's some sick. I've always appreciated that artwork. It's eye catching, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm gonna go with my first one here. Could have chose a number of different options for this band. My favorite band of all time. I did this because it truly is an amazing show, and I do own it, which is always a benefit because you can bring it for show and tell. And a young lad, a young Ty, is actually on this record. His voice, and Tyler doesn't know about this, but probably. But I'll bring it up. I don't know if we talked about it when I showed this off on Vinyl Hall, but Russian Rio.
Okay.
Now you're going to go, Ty's never been to Rio. He's never been to Brazil. And you're going to go, and I would say, yeah, you are correct. But basically, this is the whole show. This is the last show of the Vapor Trails tour in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So everything up until Between Sun and Moon. So Working Man is actually the last track of that Rio show. That's what they closed. Between Sun and Moon and Vital Signs are bonus tracks from the Vapor Trail tour. Between Sun and Moon is the Phoenix show. So I'm actually my I'm on this,
one of yours.
I'm on this record. Yeah. And then Vital Signs is I think Quebec, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But this dropped in 2003. It's a stellar release, recorded in 2002. Really, really cool show. This is the QRC pressing of this. I did show this off in a vinyl haul. I think it's up on the channel. But
that's really cool.
This is like a nice book. It's a 4.
Hell yeah.
4 LP set. Very cool pictures. And I re-listened to this, and it's just an amazing set. That those Latin America crowds, those South American crowds are just ridiculous. And they actually do a different version of Resist too, which is a nice acoustic version of that song. I do love that song, which is one of the rare times they actually change songs, because usually they try to do shit as close to the studio versions as possible. So it's one of the rare times where it's just Geddy and Alex on stage by themselves. Neil's not even on it. It's one of the few times where they actually change the song up compared to the studio version. And it's a great set list. You got everything all the way from the beginning of the band all the way to that current album. So you get 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. So you get 4 decades basically. Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's like listening in a time machine. And it's a great show. Absolutely stellar. And holds a personal place because I actually saw one of the tracks performed. So that's very cool.
That's very cool. That is Rock in Rio too, right? It's not just just Rush. It's Rock in Rio, right? When they recorded it.
No, I think it's just Rio. I don't think it's part of the festival.
Oh wow!
They just went there. Yeah, they did 40,000. And at their, I think that's their second largest crowd ever. And then they did 60,000 in Sao Paulo before that.
Yeah. That's absolutely crazy.
I
was talking about that. It's a drop in the bucket for Rock in Rio, which is like 400,000 or 500,000 every year.
Yes, yeah, 100%. So this is just a Rush show, but still a ton of people. I do appreciate it. I try to appreciate live albums that it's a full show. And it's one show, minus those bonus tracks. 100%. It's a full show, beginning to end. It's like you're there live. So I always appreciate that. It's a long one. There's a lot of tracks on there, so it's like being at a Rush show. But it's a great album. The mix is very, very good on it. It sounds good, but it does sound live, which I appreciate. It's not too cleaned up, which is nice. So, yeah, there you go.
That's what I like too. I like. There's not many. Looking at this right now, there's not many that are actually one night. So like a lot of these are pieced together. That's a lot of live records. A lot of them are pieced together throughout a tour, not even just like for stops. They're pieced together throughout like random parts of tours too, which I know people have like super like, because I actually read a review of one of my honorables. I read a review and that was the main takeaway from the review that gave the release a shitty review, was based on the fact that it was copy and pasted together from different dates that just sounded okay. It wasn't a whole one date. But yeah, I always appreciate those too.
I don't hold it against them because I got many that are different dates, but I just appreciate it more. So
yeah, I mean, I get it because like, you want to present the best you possibly can. And if there was, it's just like a comedy special. A lot of people don't understand that too. Comedy specials are rarely ever one night. They usually shoot in one particular town 3 or 4 different shows for a couple days, right? They usually shoot all those and then they piece together off of whatever your delivery was, the crowd reaction was, your wording here or there, your clothes, all that stuff is all stuff they look at to see which particular show did the best, and they'll piece together the joke in the middle of it. They'll piece together like the beginning of one date for the same joke, and the end, in the middle, and everything else is from different dates. So it's it's just different. It's the best way to present something. But yeah, if you can get one date, that's pretty ballsy too, because you're getting warts and all. with those releases, because I'm sure there's stuff that happened on that one date that they would rather have not happened, but here we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so another one here that I have, I did just do a lot of stuff that I've already talked about, so whatever, I don't care. So bands, I should say, because I had to do like real things in here, right? So in 2020, there were bands that were not really touring, obviously, for things we've talked about previously. And so bands had to figure out ways to make money. And so a lot of bands went ahead and they did live web shows and stuff, right? Pay-per-views, I guess you could say. And so you could have people buy tickets to your shows, and you would get like a poster, or you would get, just random things, shirts or whatever. And that would be your entry into the ticket into this show thing. And you'd be able to see live sets, a special live set, for your stuff, whatever, right? So one of those bands, one of my favorite bands of all time, did that. But the thing they did kind of differently was they did, at the time, just 3. They're probably going to do more later, they talked about, possibly. But they did 3 special performances of different records. So they did Jimmy Eat World. So they did a performance of Surviving, which was their newest record at the time. It still is their newest record. They did a performance of Futures, which is this record. And they also did Clarity, which is their first kind of big record. And so the big scene record, at least, right? So the Futures date, this is my favorite Jimmy World record, is Futures. So I was very, very hopeful for that set, and they fucking killed it. They filmed it and they recorded everything officially. They haven't done an official release yet, but they have everything. They have the entire show on YouTube. They posted that later on, obviously. Posted the whole show, all the shows on YouTube, and they also posted the audio on Spotify, so you can actually hear all 3 dates or whatever, all 3 sets. So it's really cool. So it's an official release, really, and it's really, really well done. They've spent money on production and cameras and everything else. They had their team work on it. It's really, really well done, all 3 dates. So I'd recommend, if anybody's a Jimmy World fan, seek that out. It's on their YouTube still. Seek it out, watch it, and listen to it. And they sound fucking great. It's all the same date. I think they talk about they did do different takes for different songs. So it's all shot at once, but they did cut it up and piece together the best performance of this song or that song. But they sound killer. Jim's voice comes across, and Jim's never had a bad vocal, date. And if he has, I've never heard it. I've seen the band 20 plus times and has watched many, many videos. Guy's voice is just aged like fine wine. He takes care of it, and he sounds as good as he does on the record live. And I appreciate that. My favorite tour, one of my favorite tours ever, we talked about previously in another podcast, is the Futures Anniversary Tour. So if I can get a full, real recording of that same kind of a deal, I want that. And so they gave it to us. It's fucking perfect. Love it. And I do often go to that live set over the record sometimes, because it's just new to me. I have not listened to that live record as much as I've listened to this record. So it's just a cool new take on it, even though for the most part, all of this is, note for note what it is, in the studio. It's just a different, tone and feel live, obviously. So I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate what they did with it.
Do you think they'll do a physical release of it?
Hope so. I mean, like I said, they did 3 records in total, so they'd have to probably do all of them. I hope so. I hope that happens. It'd be cool for like a Record Day exclusive or something or other. Even if it's just a regional thing, as we talked about previously, a regional release. Even if that was a thing, I would love it a lot. They're not beholden to any label right now, I don't believe. Very cool box set. And I think they might hold off on that because Zach Lind, their drummer, they asked about, he was asked, this is like last year before last, a little while ago, asked if they're going to continue that at some point. He said, I think maybe at some point we will look at that and see what else we want to do, because they called the nights like by the album number. So like they called the nights like, album 3, album 5, whatever, right? They did that so that like, it infers that they're going to end up doing all of the dates or all of the records at some point, right? So we'll see. I hope they do, though. I hope a lot of bands do that in the future, because hopefully not for the same circumstances, obviously, right? But
exactly.
I would love for bands to do that and perform those records, start to finish, and kind of present those in a live setting for social releases, because it's a cool way to be, man. There's no bands that have already done it, and if I can get more bands to do it, I want that,
Gotcha. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I'm going to piggyback off that and go with one of my bands that did something similar. They live streamed this show in 2020. It was September of 2020. This came out in December of 2021. They did release it.
Okay.
So I have actually multiple copies of it. So I can show out the vinyl first. This is Behemoth. With I'm going to butcher this. It's Latin. In absentia D. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a really sick show. So like I said, they live streamed it. Anna, my wife, and I watched this live when they live streamed it. It was like end of September 2020. They basically took an abandoned church in Poland and set it up to do this show.
Yeah.
So they live streamed it. And then this later came out in 2020. This is signed by Orion, the bass player. This is one of the web store exclusives. They had one that was signed by the whole band. Those sold out instantly. They had one signed by Nergal. Those sold out instantly. So then I had Orion and Inferno, and I was like, I'll get Orion. I don't know. He's cool.
Yeah.
So I just thought it looked cool anyway, because he was signing in gold ink. They did show that, so I thought it matched the.
That's
color.
awesome.
This is a really cool set. So it's unwieldy. It's so stupid. You can't even get the sleeve gets so tight. So there's part of the gatefold.
That's awesome.
And then
Abandon All Hope.
Yeah, it's Abandon All Hope. Oh, jeez.
Don't break it.
Yeah. You enter here.
You enter here. Yeah.
Got the guys in the middle there.
That's awesome.
And this is...
It's a Behemoth.
It truly is. So... Okay, try not to bend it. This is like one of those things where you never use.
Oh, yeah.
Buy it. So this came with a church that you can fold.
Oh, wow.
And build. And may or may not do things too.
Oh, fair. Okay, good call.
So, yeah, it's like an origami. I don't know how that comes across, but I'm obviously never going to do it.
Have you seen somebody do it and burn it?
I haven't. Well, I'm guaranteed it's out there, but I haven't looked at that.
It has to be, right?
And then here's the other part of the church.
That's cool.
And then this is the Orion variant. This is another reason why I bought it, because I thought it was the coolest variant. Ooh. It's like a blood splatter
with orange in there, like fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Yeah. I thought it was a very cool variant. This is a very, very impressive show, and I do own it on the Blu-ray as well. This is the
Blu-ray.
Oh, of course.
Fucking A.
They spend so much money every time. This is a Blu-ray CD set of it. So it was so much fun watching this, because I remember it's like September 2020. We were not really doing much, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was just like one of those appointment things, like, oh, this is going to be cool to watch. So nice booklet in here. And pictures from the show. And I can't show any video of this, obviously, I don't want to risk this whole thing getting blocked. But here's some stills of it, just to kind of paint the picture.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is the church, and this was like the stage setup. And then here's another one. They had stuff going on outside too, so they had outside shots of it. They spent so much money on this. And the guy who directs all their videos directed this show. So it's a really weird live experience, because there's no crowd. So you're just listening to them play. But very cool. And there is so many tracks on this. I mean, this is 4 LPs. So I want to say it's like 25 tracks or something. So it's like basically entire history of the band. So definitely a cool
I imagine it's pretty unnerving to hear a lot of that stuff just in dead silence for some of it, right? With no crowd, no nothing. Like I imagine it's kind of a weird deal.
It is, yeah. I listened to it the other night on Spotify, and it's definitely different. It's I would recommend watching it. It's not like a great listening because the visual is so important to it, and the way they shoot it, and it's so impressive. All the fire and shit. Just the whole stage presence of the band. So it is a good listen, but the visual adds a lot. So like, look it up on YouTube or get the Blu-ray. That's the
yeah.
You'd actually appreciate just checking it out for a little bit because of the amount of fucking money that is spent.
You know me, I always love great productions, man. I love it. I mean, if you're to spend a shitload of money and make it look really nice, I will appreciate that every day of the goddamn week.
Yeah, and they spared no expense, and I do have this shirt. It came with the package I got came with a shirt too, and I have this shirt as well. So
how much was it out the door?
What do you mean what?
Well, the whole package. So like obviously you got the stream, you got the I assume it's all one package, right? The stream, the vinyl, the shirt. Oh shit, okay.
I got the stream and the shirt together. I want to say that was like maybe $50.
Okay.
The shirt's like 30 by itself, 35. Plus you're shipping from Poland. So I want to say it was like maybe $50 to watch the stream with the shirt. Or you could spend like 20 just for the stream.
Yeah.
This set was like probably $25, and then the vinyl I think was like $50 or $60. So
okay. Does everything come from? They don't have an American distributor. Everything's from Poland.
Yeah. No, Metal Blade's their American distributor, but their shirts come from Poland. They run their own web store and shit. Their own web.
Oh wow.
So, yeah,
that's really cool. That's also
I've got
terrible for shipping.
It's not too hateful. Like Anna, it's got a coffee mug I bought her when Nergal was doing his goddamn coffee gimmick, and then I bought that, and I bought a couple shirts. It's not in stickers. I bought a couple stickers. It's not too hateful, honestly. But yeah, all of the physical media is all here from Metal Blade. So that's awesome. And they always get cool packages like this. So that show is really awesome. Means a lot to me, and definitely one piggyback off Tyler's because it's one of those COVID shows. So there you go.
No, yeah, like again, that's gonna be a really weird conversation, like to have with people at a certain point that didn't live through it. Right? Is like basically bands just kind of like figuring out on their own, like how we can do this and how we can survive as a band and still make money and still do something cool with our fans and stuff like that. Like a lot of bands did it. Like Bad Religion did a decade show. They went through every decade of the band and they played all the songs from like the not all of them, but obviously, but a good chunk from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, all that stuff. They just did a residency kind of sort of at I think it was the Roxy or the Troubadour. No, it wasn't Troubadour. It was one of the venues in LA though. They rented out every for like a week or something like that, and they just did all those album shows and stuff. So like it's really interesting when people like because you imagine like us like as little kids coming across this kind of like content basically like and getting introduced to all this stuff and like finding all these live shows and whatever the hell from this time. Like I'd be so stoked if I was a fan of these bands. It'd be the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, because it's also just a weird time in history too. Like
absolutely.
Fans of those bands 30 years from now, and if hopefully that stuff isn't reoccurring, and they're like, this is just a weird dynamic in the history of entertainment and music specific
human
live
history.
Music, so yeah,
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Fucking gnarly. It's very cool. All right, so another one I have here is something that's done a number of live releases over the years, and I have all of the official ones, but my favorite, it might be a little controversial possibly, but it is Bruce Springsteen live in New York. This is off the 99 reunion tour with the E Street Band. So this is the part of the run they did in New York. I think they had like 10 days straight in MSG sold out. And this is from those performances. And it's just so killer. They just sound so tight. Like Bruce is only, so if this is 99, so Bruce is, I think he's about to, what is that? So 49, I think he's born, right? So what's that, 50 years? So he's about to be 50. He's still in his 40s at this point. So, like, just next level. He sounds fucking great. He sounds amazing. And the band is just so tight. Everyone is old enough that they are obviously masters at their craft, and they are so fucking tight even after they've not been together for at this point 10-ish years or so. And Bruce's voice, not that his voice is bad now, his voice is still great. But it just sounds so good. And they play everything from these from every record basically. They represent everything. They also play some new songs, if you will. Like Murder Incorporated's on here. That's one of my favorite newer Bruce songs. They just kill it. It's so awesome. They play Atlantic City, and the mandolin on Atlantic City just makes it. And I go back to that song so often. That's my favorite rendition of Atlantic City is on this record because just the mandolin, the hooks, it just sounds so fucking great with the entire band. Just top to bottom, flawless performance for me. And like I said, they play every song that you want to hear. Prove It All Night, big one for me. River, obviously. Murder Inc., Badlands, Born to Run, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Lost in the Flood, American Skin, 41 Shots, actually. That was kind of controversial at this time because that song was written about, I forget his name now, but it was written about a guy that got gunned down and got shot 41 times in his apartment by NYPD. He was reaching for his wallet, and Bruce wrote a song about that. And supposedly, when because they shot the show, I don't see it in the show, obviously, but supposedly people that were there when he played the song, a number of folks, obviously not everybody, but a number of folks just put the finger up during the entire, like when Bruce introduced it and Bruce started playing, they just put the finger up to him because they took it as an anti-police song, and it was more so just illustrating that this man was shot in his apartment reaching for his wallet, and that's what the song's about. But very, very cool time, and very cool time, very bad time, but it was a cool time for the band. With this being the reunion tour, first tour since '88, I believe that was the Amnesty International, I think, tour was the last one, and that was the tour just after Tunnel of Love, and Bruce was already kind of winding down being a band. He did Tunnel of Love by himself, basically, and that was a record that he recorded, showed to the band, and then told the band to beat it. If you can't beat it, like beat the tracks, then we're not putting you on the record. And in his eyes, they didn't really beat it. They didn't beat any tracks that were on there, so they didn't really participate too much in the record. And then he broke the band up shortly thereafter because on the Amnesty International tour, Sting was on that tour, and Bruce loved that Sting was able to be Sting away from the police, and he thought that, hey, I can do that. And he did, and it worked out fucking horribly. And it wasn't good, okay? And Bruce has since come out and said he regrets it. He says he needed to do it at the time, but he said if I probably shouldn't have done that, and if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have done it that way, because it was like 10 years of like a Cold War where he was feuding but not feuding. And I think I've told you the story before. This is kind of a little off, whatever, but I think I told you the story before. When they did the Greatest Hits package of '95, they did a DVD VHS called Blood Brothers, and they played Murder Incorporated, and they shot a video for it where the band came back and they shot a video in one of the clubs in New York for it, right? And they put a whole show, but a lot of it was played. I think they played Murder Inc. like 4 times in a row, and I think it was Danny Federici, the keyboardist. He was walking on stage with a certain, like a Hawaiian shirt or something on, and Bruce said, "You got to change your shirt. We can't have that." And then Danny shot back. "What are you gonna do? Fire me?" And then that was like a fucking hum thing because there was no plans to do anything else ever again. So what the fuck? What am I gonna lose?
Yeah,
exactly. You're parading us out there for one fucking date to say that we're friends again. Go fuck yourself and wear what I want to wear. Whatever. And so that kind of got Bruce over his shit and kind of realized that he was being a fucking idiot and a dick. But anyway, back to this fucking record. It's fucking great. Go listen to it. It's top to bottom flawless, and all the performances on here are super tight. And it's the 3 LP set. This is the repress. I don't have an original. One of the Zias in Tempe has 2 of them, and I'm not going to spend $150 on an original sealed. Not going to happen. So there we go.
Yeah. Alrighty. Very cool. Tyler went with one of his heavy hitters, so I'll just get mine out of the way. Okay. A band that has a ton of fucking live albums. Let's go with Maiden. Iron Maiden, Live After Death. This is not the one I'm going to talk about, but I did a twofer though. Live After Death, obviously an iconic show. This is the VHS. It's Long Beach and Hammersmith. Long Beach is basically sides 1 and 3 of the LP. Hammersmith is side 4. And the VHS is just the Long Beach show. I do enjoy this quite a bit. Obviously, iconic artwork on here. I do enjoy this show quite a bit, but I think it's too clean. And Bruce sounds pretty rough. Like, the tour started in August of 84, and this was recorded in March of 85. So that's 6 months deep into the tour. So that's hundreds of shows on his voice. And this is 4 nights, I think, at Long Beach Arena in California. Wow. Recorded over that. So this is obviously an iconic tour, the Power Slave tour, obviously an iconic show and live album. But the one I want to talk about is actually Made in England.
Ooh.
And this is the VHS of that show. This is real interesting because it was originally released just as a VHS. They didn't put it out on LP and until much, much later. They did an LP in 2013, actually, of this. They re-released everything. This VHS doesn't have the full show on there. There was a VHS CD edition released in 94, so that would be really cool to find. But this is how it originally came out in 89. The show was recorded in 88. This is in Birmingham, so you got a great crowd as well. I love this tour. This is the Seventh Son tour. So... yeah, one of my favorite records all the time, my favorite Maiden record. And they kick it off with Moonchild and Evil That Men Do from that record. And when they break into Evil That Men Do, it's like goosebumps. It's goosebumps every time, man. And this sounds like just raw enough. Yeah. Where they didn't polish it to a nice sheen. Like it sounds like you're there and you're listening to them live, which I really appreciate. The live footage of this, Steve did all this live stuff. The Live After Death, wasn't happy with the way that they cut it. So he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do everything myself. So he edited all this footage, and it's not the best if you watch it live. Yeah, because Steve's not he's not a videographer. Like, he's not a director. It's not bad. It's just a lot of cuts and crazy shit, like shit you do in high school and shit, like when you're learning how to cut. Learning how to cut stuff. So that's my only gripe about it. I do love the show, iconic artwork.
Well, question though, is it Steve heavy? Like, is there a lot of awkward, weird shots where it's just Steve, and you're like, oh, Steve wanted to put himself on TV?
I'd have to watch the whole thing again. To double check, but no, not really. I don't remember that. It's just a lot of fast cuts. Like, you watch Death on the Road, that was when he did in 03 from a Dance of Death tour, and that's the same thing. It's just so many cuts. It's literally like watching WWE. Like, you made the Kevin Dunn reference. This one isn't that bad, but it's not as well shot as Live After Death, but I do prefer this live show, the audio of it. I don't own that LP from 2013. I used to, but I don't own it.
Is it money now?
I guarantee it, because I don't think they've repressed it. So, but I do own the original VHS, which some would say might be cooler. So there you go. Had to get some Maiden in. Did a little two for Live After Death, and my preferred Maiden live album, Made in England.
Love it. That's awesome. All right, so I have one here that it's not controversial by any means. It's not, but it's a weird thing to put on here. Maybe it's because it's not an official deal, but I think Ty will echo this. So there's a set that happened at Woodstock 99 that, for my money, was the best set that day or that for those days. And that was a little band called Korn. Korn did the best. I go back and watch that set once a month. Like, I'll put it on while I'm working. Like, I'll just put it on and like I'll just let it go. Like, and it's just so good. They're so tight. The crowd is obviously legendary and insane. What was happening, you know, out there in the crowd and the entire festival. Like, it was just a really, really crazy happening on the world. And it's just crazy because me and Ty we've watched the Woodstock documentary since then, right? You've watched like both of them, right?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen either one of them.
Oh wow, shit. Okay, I thought you had. I thought we talked about it. So there's two of them. So there's an HBO one and there's a Netflix one, and they're both really good. Obviously, Woodstock 99 was among one of the worst events ever, like for people, because a lot of bad things happened there and a lot of poor planning and whatever.
Yeah,
but it's kind of been crazy when they talk about it because a lot of the buildup for those dates, and you got to think about all the bands that played. Everybody that fucking existed basically played in 99. That was a big deal, right? Metallica played, right? So like Megadeth, like everybody that was really out there at the time. Yeah. But they talk about the ramp up, like the ones they had circled were Biscuit and Korn. Those are the ones they had circled because they knew that those were the ones that people were going to react to. So like not even Chili Peppers, not Metallica, not Megadeth, not any of those bands by any means. It was Korn and it was fucking Limp Bizkit. So on this set, they played a tight third, so the opening night of the event. So they played 13 songs. They played Blind, Twist, Chi, Got the Life, Good God, Adidas, Porno Creep, Shoots and Ladders, Beg for Me, Freak on a Leash, Falling Away from Me, the F Word, the bad F Word one, and my gift to you with the Seasons in the Abyss intro, which off the top of my head I can't remember right now, but just really crazy set they did. It just, everything, like I said, just the entire thing was always just perfect. It sounded awesome. Jonathan sounded good. The band was super tight, and they played all the songs you wanted to play at the time, right? And Freak on a Leash was one of the biggest songs in the country at that point. This record had just come out and had the video with it. The video was obviously next level. I would argue at the video on the countdown we did the week that didn't air.
Oh, yeah, it's a great video. I would argue, man, they were as big or bigger than Metallica at that point.
100%.
They were a giant band. Them and Biscuit, man. That's a crazy, crazy show. That's a good set. Yeah, Josh had both of those on VHS. The Woodstock 94 or whatever in 99.
And 99, yeah. No, it's a fucking insane, crazy set. It was between this and Nine Inch Nails because their 94 set is also legendary as the set that pretty much broke the band to like the world, not just like to their fans. So I was picking between those two, and I always talk about Nine Inch Nails. So like, might as well bring up a little band called Korn.
That's the Mud set, right?
Nine Inch Nails 94, yeah, that's the Mud year. So them and Green Day both.
Green Day, yeah, a ton of mud. Isn't Green Day on 99 too?
Ooh, I think they might be. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think you're right. I think they also.
Nine Inch Nails on 99 also, or no?
No, they didn't do 99.
Okay.
Yeah, they just did 94. And the only reason they did 94 is to finance the rest of the tour. Because because Trent like was booking the rest of the tour, right? And he was like, well, we don't have money. So and Interscope's not giving us enough money here for this tour because all the shit that Trent wants to do, because he wanted to do it at a crazy fucking, production, right? And since they didn't have that kind of production money, Woodstock was paying so much for their set that he said, you know what, fuck it, let's go play this corporate date, because he knew it was going to be corporate because it was all the Pepsi stuff everywhere at the time, right? So he knew it was basically a corporate sellout date, but he did it just so he could finance the production he wants for that actual tour. And it's kind of a cool deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's iconic set, so.
Yeah,
it lives
fucking
on.
A, man.
I mean, both their shows live on in infamy, I guess. But yeah, good choice. Somebody we haven't really talked about much, so good choice. I'm gonna go with somebody I haven't talked about much either, but definitely is an important band in my life and my wife's as well. I'm gonna talk about Nightwish.
There you go.
This is End of an Era. So this was recorded in 2005. This is their last show with Tarja, their first lead singer. One of the best singers in all of music, I would say. One of the best. You've seen 1,000 Nightwish reaction videos and the craziness. And usually it's her or it's their current lead singer, Floor. She's also great. We never saw her with Tarja. We've only seen her with Floor. But yeah, because Tarja left in 2005, which is crazy because I remember when that happened. So wow. It's really interesting I thought it was like 5 years ago, it feels like.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you look back, it's like over 10 years ago. So this is a really cool show. This is a hometown show in Finland. So nice. It's a great fucking crowd. There's like 18 tracks on here. This is the DVD and 2 CD set. There's a Blu-ray too, which I just found out about. And I'm like, I gotta find that Blu-ray. So I'd much rather have it on Blu-ray. There's a documentary on here too, which is very cool. But it basically is a good capture of that era of the band, which in my opinion is the best era. They're one of the biggest symphonic bands ever, power metal bands. They're every theater nerd's favorite band. So yeah, I always appreciate this set, and they mean a lot to me because they're one of my wife's favorite bands too, and I do enjoy Nightwish. Not as much as her, but I've seen them live, and they're one of the best live bands I've ever seen. The sound's so impressive. Yeah. Floor, their current lead singer, she probably has the best stage presence of anybody I've ever seen on a stage live. Oh, wow. Doing anything. Music, plays, theater, whatever. Comedy.
Yeah.
She's one of the best performers I've ever seen perform live. But Tarja, for my money, was the best Nightwish singer. And this is a great document of that era of the band. And a great crowd, too, because it's a hometown crowd.
Yeah. So with that release, so she was obviously amicable, at least somewhat, because if they're calling it an era, obviously, it was a agreed upon thing.
Well, not really. Like they were, she was after she left, and she basically got fired via letter.
Okay, cool, very cool. Never mind, not amicable at all. It's all bad.
So we're gonna go a little bit of the Nightwish rant. They're a very interesting band because Anna and I always talk about this. The main lyricist, songwriter, the main person in the band is the keyboardist, Tomas. Okay. It's his band. The problem with that is you've always had very powerful female singers. Tarja is a very attractive woman. She's operatic. Her voice is insane. She's what mostly draws people to the band. So there is a giant ego and power struggle there. So she left, and then Annette came in. And to be honest, Annette wasn't a very good. She's a good singer, but she couldn't handle Nightwish.
Yeah.
So Annette left. Kind of similar. She had a giant ego. Similar. Floor's been in the band quite a long time, but it's the same thing where Floor is just getting bigger and bigger. So I can imagine seeing Floor leaving. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce, Floor is leaving the band just because of that. And it's a weird dynamic because your main person is the keyboardist.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he's got this elaborate stage setup and stuff, and they do a lot of keyboard centric songs.
Yeah.
And like they do their Phantom of the Opera cover all the time and shit. And that's obviously keyboard heavy and stuff. And so it's an interesting dynamic with the band. But yeah, they did. I'd have to look at the letter and shit, but I'm pretty sure she got fired via letter. And then they just like put it on their website. And it wasn't a great split, but they later released this as like the document. So it wasn't, it might have been known to the band like this is it, but it was still not great.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, no need. That's a weird, it's a weird dynamic for sure. If the guy, I mean, it's not the same, I guess, but like there's a lot of like guys that lead bands that are not the lead singer, and that's always kind of a weird thing, right? Because I imagine those, when that's the case, and the guy that leads the band is not, you know, lead singer, you're obviously gonna have a weird deal there with ego wise, because it's like the lead singer is the one 9 times out of 10, the ones that everybody gravitates towards. But if it's not their band, it's just weird. It's like almost like Maiden, it's Steve's band. But Bruce is the voice of the band, and Bruce is the backbone of the public. Like, maybe not, obviously, the true fans know it's Steve's band, but by and large, I imagine a lot of people just, you know, they associate Bruce with the band. And I think that probably, you know, for a lot of bands.
It's even crazier with Nightwish, though, because Tomas writes everything. Basically everything.
Oh, wow.
The band is very good and talented. They're great. The guitar player is awesome. They used to have a Marco, the bass player, the longtime bass player, is a great vocalist as well.
Yeah.
The original drummer's fucking amazing too. He's no longer in the band. But the band is just great. But Tomas is like the main songwriter, the main music writer, the lyricist.
Oh, wow.
He's created the band. So, but he's the keyboardist. So it's just a natural, weird dynamic. And then the main thing that draws you to Nightwish is the vocals. And then you find out, and then you see the vocalist, and you're like, oh, this chick's really cute, or holy shit, she's stunning, no matter whether you're into her or not, like, you know, whatever, you know what I'm trying to get at. So like, that's the other dynamic that I think is at play in that band. So fascinating. I find it fascinating. And I was
for sure
talk with Anna about it. So
no, it's a weird thing. Now think about it, it's almost like Meatloaf and Jim Steinman. Like, Jim Steinman wrote everything, and Meatloaf was very limited in anything he ever did, and anything that was of note was all Jim for years and years and years. But no one really gave Jim the proper respect, because obviously Meatloaf is the performer that he is, the voice that he is, and he's so, you know, larger than life, literally, and you know, theoretically, or you know, whatever. But it's like, so anyway, you're right. It's a weird deal. It's always a deal.
That's a good analogy. You're 100% right.
Love it. That's awesome. Very, very interesting, but you know, definitely a big deal. All right. So I have a band that I've talked about many, many times, but I can't like not talk about it. So like, whatever. A band that I've talked to Ty about this. Ironically enough, I have every live release this band is officially released, but I don't have the greatest hits or the other box sets for their records, but I have all of their live box sets. And that's a band called Led Zeppelin. So I pulled out 2. I still have Celebration Day down there as well, but I pulled out 2. I pulled out Song Remains the Same and How the West Is Won. For my money, because a lot of people apparently, I didn't know this. I actually did a little bit of research here. A lot of people don't actually like The Song Remains the Same, which I kind of get in terms of like the movie, because like I've seen the movie enough times when I was a kid on Fuse, because whenever whoever got the rights to that to play it all the time, Fuse played it into the fucking ground. And so I watched it quite a few times. And the narrative of the movie and like little skits and whatever the hell, I just don't care about at all. I never did. So I can understand like the slog of like the movie. Performance wise, I always thought it was fucking badass. They look fucking great. They sound fucking awesome. It's a cool New York crowd, obviously, right? MSG. It's a really, really cool crowd. And I think that everything they come across, and they did it in like what, 73, I believe it was. Yeah, 73 in MSG. So like not like super early, but like you're getting the vast majority of the songs you really know, and you're kind of just missing what House of the Holy and like Physical Graffiti, right? I believe. Just kind of talking this through out loud right now. So you're getting the majority of what you want for a lot of these you know, sets, and just absolutely fucking killer. They sound great. I also love something that I love over How the West Was Won is there's stuff that in How the West Was Won, because stuff is in 72 is How the West Is Won. So it is missing out on certain things live. Like I don't believe that No Quarter is actually in How the West Is Won, because I don't believe No Quarter was even out yet at that point. Yeah, it's not, because No Quarter I think No Quarter is on Houses, I believe. Thinking about this now, so maybe Houses is out during
House of the Holy came out. House of the Holy came out in 73.
Okay, so that was a tour then. That makes a lot of sense. But I think like so raw. It sounds way more raw for How the West Is Won. There's a lot more of little warts in there and stuff. And for like Zeppelin, like biographer, like live biographers, they kind of like point at these shows as like some of them at least point at these shows as like the last time that like Jimmy wasn't too fucked up and he was good and Robert's voice wasn't fucking blown out and this and that and everything else, right? And they dissect these as kind of being the shows and being the era you want to hear. So like I appreciate that. Songs is very clean. Like I said, this is they're kind of yin and yang a little bit, but I just love production on Houses of the Holy, or not on Song Remains the Same. It just sounds fucking great. And also there's a live document. There's no show. There's no video of How the West Is Won, but there's a video obviously for Song Remains the Same. And I would recommend for any Zeppelin, connoisseur to dive into the live sets for these releases. Like I have BBC Sessions too. BBC Sessions is another live collection that's fucking killer because there's just so much raw power in those songs too. They just put out a lot of cool live shit. Okay. And I love Zeppelin, so I'm never gonna not jock them when it comes to the live releases because for my money, they were among the best in the era. So there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting because they sat on Song Remains the Same for a while. Recorded in 73, released in 76. So it was sat on for a while. Like it was released after Physical Graffiti. Yeah. It was released after Presence. So like
oh wow, also that, yeah.
Interesting. There's a lot of tracks, 2 albums worth of shit that isn't on there. And depending on what House of the Holy stuff is on there, maybe it's not on there. But anyway, yeah. So and that, do you have the big box set? Because the big box set, the 07 reissue is 131 minutes, and the original one's 100 minutes.
So this is a 4 LP.
Okay, so that's everything then.
Yeah, so it's a 2018 pressing.
That's based on the 07 version. So yeah, you have everything there then. Okay,
there we go. Yeah, because I do have the original 2 LP version too. I do have that, and that definitely does not contain everything for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna pull that out too, but I didn't want to pull out all the Zeppelin shit. But
How the West Is Won, that was the CD box set.
No, this is the vinyl box set too. This is the vinyl box set too.
Oh, okay. There is a vinyl set for that. Yeah. Okay.
So this is like 2000 and the CD box I think came out in 03, and this came out in 2018 as well. So I got both these in 18.
Oh, same time.
And this is also a 4 LP-er. So this is everything they probably put on the CD, or a lot of it at least. I actually remember when the CD came out because I remember it was a huge, huge, huge deal. My dad never bought it. And I remember I think I had a conversation with him like, hey, do you want to buy that? And he was like, he had no interest in it for some reason. I don't remember, but he never owned it, which is a weird deal because this is definitely a prime of my dad buying, CDs by the truckload, basically.
Nice.
Fucking A. Yeah.
Good choice.
There you go.
Alrighty. Let's go with these. I mean, I got some honorables here too, so we'll run through those. But probably my last one. This is in my top 5, but I haven't talked about it before. These other bands I've talked about it ad nauseum, so I'll throw it in there because I do really love this live show. Halloween, United Alive. This was recorded in 2017. This is the 2 Blu-ray set. This is an absolutely stellar set. It's 2 hours and 47 minutes. So you're getting tons of tracks. This is the big tour they did when Kai Hansen and Michael Kiske came back to the band. So you have basically original, almost fully original lineup. You have all 3 lead singers of the band. So they all share vocal duties throughout this whole set. And Kai's playing guitar again too. So this is a fucking killer set. Recorded in 2017. This is released in 2019. You also get disc 2 with some bonus tracks from Wacken, which they always do good in Wacken. It's always a crazy set because they're one of the biggest German metal bands ever. And then you do get some bonus features on here too, some like little making ofs and just little vignettes and shit. So this is a really cool 2-disc set. No vinyl, if I remember right, but I bought the Blu-ray because this is very shot very well too, and it's one full show. That's disc awesome. 1 is all of the Madrid show from 2017. So Fucking awesome killer set. This is my most anticipated show in a fucking long time. Finally seeing them 3 months to the day. I will be seeing this show live. And I'm excited because they usually do the same sets. So I'm expecting this. I'm expecting like the 25 tracks. So we shall see. But I'm very excited. It'll be the only time I ever see them probably because they're only playing like 5 or 6 US dates and they very rarely ever come here. So super fucking stoked. And I would highly recommend this if you're into any type of metal, power metal, anything. You already know about Halloween, but this set in particular is fucking awesome. Good introduction to the band too, because it covers all the different eras, and they still sound fucking stellar. Fucking stellar.
The craziest thing when you told me about that is they have all 3 vocalists present for these tours, and that set in particular, but for all the tour. It's fucking insanity. I don't know of another time that's ever happened.
It's one of the coolest things ever, and honestly, it's one of the things that I always liked Halloween, but it's one of the things that made me fall in love with them because Andy Darris, the current lead singer, who's been in the band since Michael Kiske left since the early 90s, like he's weathered a lot of the storm and put out a lot of good records for 30 fucking years. And he was eventually like, if we can do this, I want to make it happen. Yeah. And he basically, for a musician to do that, it's a big deal because you check your ego at the fucking door.
100%.
And he was like, if we could do this, let's make it happen. And the thing about it is Halloween's going to sell the same amount of tickets, it's definitely a big deal. And their new record did very well. But as far as ticket sales go, they're going to sell the same amount of tickets in Europe and overseas as they would if they were in the band or not, because they're just that big of a name. Over here, it's going to be, they're going to play smaller venues, but like my point is it's not really a money grab. It helped the record, but you're only going to sell so many records in 2022, 2020, whatever. So it's not really a money grab. It's more like Andy's such a fan of the band and the legacy and the history of the band because he was such a huge fan when he joined them. And he was like, let's make this happen. So that's what made me fall in love with the band, honestly.
That's such good like fan service there too, because there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to do any of that shit besides their fans. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Michael and Kai are enjoying. Well, Kai's in Gamma Ray, who is like almost an equally as big of a band. And but Michael's dabbled in other shit. So I'm sure Michael appreciates it because it's good money in his pocket. Yeah. But as far as Halloween itself, they didn't need to do that to exist. They would have existed just fine without it. So
there's a lot of bands that need to do gimmicks like that, where original singer comes back for a tour or whatever. A lot of bands need to have that, but the fact that they don't and they still are doing it, just fucking incredible. That's super crazy.
Yeah, they did.
Again, like I said, the ego stuff would prevent that every time for 99% of bands.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. It would never happen. I mean, the Van Halen. We've always talked about Van Halen doing the David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar tour, and that would have never happened because of egos and mostly on one side. But well,
it did. Well, do the Sam and Dave tour, and it was a fucking nightmare.
Yes.
So that proved it without the band being present. It was still a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. So
Lord fucking knows what it would have been like if they actually did it, but no, 100%. It's fucking incredible. It's total mind blow because I don't know of another band that would do that or would be able to do that. No fucking clue. So that's awesome.
Yeah, few and far between,
for sure. All right, so we're on to honorables now. You said?
Oh yeah, we could get some honorables. Just run through them real quick.
Okay, so another favorite band of all time for mine, The Doors. This is absolutely live. This is not the set that I'm really just hit myself. Not the set that I released that I'm talking about though. This is a cool set too. It's a very cool set. But specifically, they're live in New York. Is super fucking cool. They had a big box that they put out. That's a 6-disc. They played 2 nights for 3 nights, or 2 sets for 3 nights straight. So the first set is the best set because it's their freshest. Jim's voice sounds great. He's not too fucked up. Like they're just super tight. All the everything just hits on every cylinder, and the banter is cool. The whole vibe is very, very cool for it. So they put out a Rexer Day release of that, I think in 2009. It's the red one and it just says Doors Live in New York on it. I saw it at Zia for years. It sat there and no one bought it. And then finally somebody did. And obviously it's out of press and, whatever, right? It's not super expensive, like an $80 bill or so. I just haven't purchased it. I want to get around to doing that at some point eventually. But also their Hollywood Bowl set is also super, super cool too. Because there's only 2 sets that are completely shot in color for the Doors. One's Hollywood Bowl. The other one is Isle of Wight. And so there's only the 2 that exist. Isle of Wight's cool. It's a little bit different though with the live set because it's a single red bulb basically around the entire thing because Jim didn't want to have spotlights and shit on there. And so it's still pretty cool, but it's a different deal. But Hollywood Bowl completely shot, very lit up. Everything is super, super nice. Also another cool set. So the Doors have some stuff out there, but if you want to seek out the Live in New York night 1 specifically, even though there's 6 nights you can buy or 6 performances you can buy in the box set, would recommend doing that. So Doors Live in New York, there's that. Got David Bowie Stage. This is during the Berlin era, so it's a little bit darker, a little bit weirder with the live set. This is my personal favorite Bowie live release. I have a good number of them. I just realized going through this, I have like 5 or 6 Bowie live sets, and I have 2 boxes. This is still for my money because it's my favorite era with the Berlin trilogy. So you get a lot of Low on here, which is my favorite Bowie record. So would recommend seeking this out if you're into that stuff, into more electronic, more just like very, very like just dark and weird sounds. This is the Bowie for you. Still plays a lot of the hits and everything else, but specifically side 2 has Warzala on there, Speed of Light and Breaking Glass, and then it goes into side 2, record 2, side 2, Be Heroes and everything. So it's just a cool release. So there's that. And then last but not least, more newer, John Mayer, Live in New York. So Live in New York, Live in Los Angeles. Fuck. So Where the Light Is. So this set is super cool. I think it's a 4 LP'er. Yeah. So fucking great. Love John Mayer. Especially John Mayer live stuff always sounds good. He also has very quality live production too. So it sounds incredible. Every record does, but his live records specifically sound fucking incredible. So it puts a lot of time and effort into make sure that every audio file is satisfied. And this is not too expensive. I think I spent like 60 bones on it, I want to say. Music on vinyl as well. So just fucking recommend over and over. All this is from 2008. All the songs from the era previously. So go and seek it out and listen to Vultures because that's the fucking song. So there's that.
Cool.
Boom.
Good variety there.
There you go, man.
Good variety there. All right, let's get to some of mine. One that Tyler, I think I probably thought I would have mentioned already. Roy Orbison, Black and White Night, one of my all-time favorite live sets. PBS used to play this all the time, so that's when I first saw it. It was originally released as a Cinemax special. That's what it was originally recorded for. They did it in '87, and they did it at the Ambassador Hotel in LA. This is an absolutely great set. It's got Elvis's backing band, the Taking Care of Business band, and then you've got Bruce on here doing backing vocals and stuff. You got Bonnie Raitt, Tom Waits, a bunch of other people. Elvis Costello, Jackson Brown, Katie Lang. I don't think Bono's here.
Okay, I do.
I don't think he's on this. He's not. At least he's not listed on the front, which I figured he would be if he was.
Yeah, it's not lied.
Jennifer Warnes, J.D. Souther, just a ton of T-Bone Burnett, ton of people, and this is like Roy getting his due, which guys like Bruce and Tom Petty and Jackson Brown and Jeff Lynne, who's not on this coincidentally, which is kind of weird, but Jeff Lynne knows. I guess probably, yeah. But those guys always stumping for Roy, and this was basically the big start of the comeback. Great set. This is the out of print Blu-ray. This is only 17 tracks. There is a 30th anniversary LP and Blu-ray that I would like to get that has the full show, and it has the unreleased, unaired tracks that they recorded as well. So it's like a little bit over 20 tracks, if I remember right. So that would be very cool to get. Little tidbit about this too: there was an earthquake the night after this show, and a bunch of chandeliers fell on the masters. So a lot of this shit could have been lost, but luckily nothing was damaged. So that would have been obviously crazy because this might have never existed, which is
fucking devastating.
Yeah, this is an all-time legendary show.
For sure.
Next up, the first CD I ever bought, the first piece of physical music I ever bought was Back in Black, but the first thing I bought with my own money, Journey Greatest Hits Live. This is an absolutely stellar live set. I listened to it the other night. I can still do the stage banter and like Steve's call outs. A lot of this set is just live in Houston, which is also one of my other favorite sets. This is the LP that they released last year of that tour or that show that they recorded this show for MTV. A lot of this has this on there, but there is some Japanese stuff on here too from Budokan. So there's a lot of that. The only thing that isn't on here, which kind of sucks, is any Raised on Radio stuff. So, which is weird. Because there's a couple really big Raised on Radio songs that are on the Greatest Hits, but they didn't make it to Greatest Hits Live. So I don't know if there's just not good live versions of that. And I know there's video that exists of that because
for sure,
like the Be Good to Yourself video is a live video. So there is pro shot stuff. So I don't know if there's no concerts released officially.
Yeah,
full shows of that tour. So Journey Greatest Hits live in Houston. Both had to be picks on here.
There has to be some weird shit out there for we've already talked about Journey quite a bit being fucked up, but you would imagine by now they would have put something out from that era if they had it, right? Like I would hope they have to have.
I guarantee Steve would, because Steve's in charge of most of that shit. He mixed the fucking vinyl and shit and that CD and DVD release of Live in Houston. So I imagine if there was, they would definitely put it out and make money on it.
I wonder if, because isn't that a Steve dominant era? Isn't that Steve's band basically at that point? So like, I wonder if there's like a weird ego-ish thing about that.
Very well could be.
It is Journey.
It would definitely probably make some good money though. I imagine fans would be clamoring for that because there is no official release that I know of off the top of my head. I don't think there is. I don't think I'm wrong. There is no official release of that era. So that would be very cool. And there's no tracks on that, which sucks because there's tracks from that record on the actual Greatest Hits. That's the Greatest Hits live. So you figure they could have did it. But also next up, my last physical one I'll show, and then I got a few honorables. No, I take that back. I got two more physical. Sorry. Slayer, Decade of Aggression live. Absolutely fucking killer set. This is recorded 1990 and 1991. It's 3 different dates. You've got Florida, Lakeland, Florida, San Bernardino, and Wembley Arena in London.
Oh, wow.
So
there's 3 very different crowds.
Oh, definitely. The first disc is all Lakeland. So I think that's probably the full Lakeland show because it opens with Hell Awaits and closes with Angel of Death. So I think that's probably the full show. And then the second disc is the California and London dates.
Combination of
sounds fucking stellar. I would love to own this on vinyl again, but it is expensive. It hasn't gotten reissued yet. Hopefully someday. Still sounds fucking great. Just one of the best fucking live metal bands ever in existence. And this is the band. Dave is still in the band at this point. So this is the lineup.
That's awesome.
Next up, Unleashed in the Studio, Unleashed in the East by Judas Priest. I say Unleashed in the Studio because all the vocals are redone. Basically, Rob said they lost all the vocals. So apparently the band is live, but it's Rob redoing the vocals. Still an absolutely legendary live album released in 79. Recorded in February 79, released in September of 79. One of the quintessential live metal albums of all time. Couldn't not do this episode and not mention it. You get basically all the killer early era Judas Priest that had been done to that point. So killer fucking set, great album. And then you can see where they got the inspiration for this album cover. I noticed this tonight pulling this shit out. Released a year prior, one of the biggest live albums ever, Live and Dangerous.
Oh,
I was like,
there you go.
I was like, this cover's almost exactly the same. So I wonder, I wonder where they were taking their inspiration from. Same colors, almost same everything. You got Phil there and Rob there, and then the band's in the background, kind of blurry. Got all the smoke on the stage.
There you go.
Live and Dangerous is an interesting thing because depending on who you ask, a lot of it isn't live, which is really weird. I was watching a BBC documentary that was uploaded to YouTube about Thin Lizzy, and they were talking about this, and they're one of the best live bands ever. That everybody always says you saw them live. And they were putting this together, and Tony Visconti was the producer on this.
Nice.
So Bowie's old producer. And they were putting it together, and there was a part of a show, because this is like 3 different shows. And there was a part of a show where Phil was like, I fucked up there. Let me go back and redo it. And then Tony's like, if we do this, the rest of the band's going to want to redo shit.
Yeah.
So, of course, that happened.
Yeah. According
to Tony. And it's funny, I was watching the documentary, and Tony Visconti's like, yeah, about 75% of it was redone. And then immediately after that, they play a clip of Brian Robertson, who's still in the band at this point. This is his last release on guitar for Thin Lizzy. He's like, no, that's fucking bullshit. We never did that. It was like immediately after that. So depending on who you ask, Tony Visconti says 75% of it is redone. The band says like 75% of it is live. So the band and the band's old manager and shit still stand by. I don't care. It's an absolutely fucking stellar live album.
Oh, yeah.
The end of Cowboy Song into The Boys Are Back in Town, they don't stop. They just seamlessly transition into The Boys Are Back in Town, which is one of the coolest moments in live album history. Yeah. Great fucking record. Still sounds excellent. Great production on it, even if it's not 100% live. I don't give a shit. So.
Just power on power there.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
It's an absolutely stellar release. That's it for physical, but I do have a couple that I have to mention. If I don't mention my own cred for myself will go down. So first one I want to share is AC/DC Live.
Yep.
Don't own this anymore, which sucks. So they used to own the CD, and I haven't bought it on vinyl. You still see it on vinyl fairly regularly. And the originals actually aren't too expensive. I looked them up. They're not too bad for being 92. Yeah, you can get European pressings for not too much. This is an absolutely fucking crazy show. They're one of the best live bands on the planet at this point. Oh, yeah. It's so fucking crazy. A lot of this was done in Donington. There's a few different shows. There's Donington, and there's another, I think Birmingham. And this is the collector's sets. It's the 2-disc version, which I had both of these. I had the single disc and the 2-disc back in the day. And just a killer fucking set. One of my favorite live records. I listened to it the other day, and I'm like, yeah, this is still a fucking killer. And there's great videos of this, this tour as well. So
what's crazy is like
fucking peak.
For sure, Thunderstruck is a brand new song at that point. What's insane is that like you don't like obviously because we've had Thunderstruck our entire lives, so obviously our perception of it is very different. But in that recording, it's like they've been playing it for 25 years because everything is so seamless and smooth and just so bombastic and massive. Like they knew what they had instantaneously.
And the crowd's so into it too.
100%. Absolutely fucking mind blow shit for sure.
Yep. Next up, can't not mention it. Alice in Chains Unplugged. One of my favorite shows of all time. It's one of the last documents of Lane with the band. It took them a long time to even do this show because of everything that was going on. They even talk about it. It's like this is a long time coming. and all this stuff. Recorded in '96. Just a great show. Even Lane's vocals are so fragile on it, but it adds so much to the show. He even fucks up a little bit, which you can get on, I think, on the DVD version. Like, they don't edit any of that shit out. You can see some of that shit, which is really interesting. But this is an absolutely stellar set. They play all the, like, they did the complete opposite of Nirvana, where they just played all their biggest fucking songs, which I appreciate. They gave, and I think they kind of knew, like, we're not going to be going much longer with Lane.
We're on the way out.
Yeah, let's just do an absolutely killer fucking set. And they did. Not that I don't appreciate the Nirvana one too. It's great. I do need to get this on vinyl. We need a fucking reissue because the music on vinyl one is now money. It fucking sucks. I've had so many chances to buy this and I never did. So just fucking reissue it, please.
For sure.
And then
for my money, I think that wood vocal that he has is one of the best vocals fucking ever.
Really?
We talked about 100%. I fucking love that. We told me about that, and I've watched the videos and stuff. Like, you talk about Lane's fragility and stuff like that. Like, you know, when he fucks up and he stutter starts and all that. Like, you look at Jerry and like look for reassurance and shit. Just have the balls to fucking go and keep going and make sure that he's not like fucking everything up. Like, it's crazy. It's a really insane fucking set to watch.
It is. Yeah, it's intense, especially in hindsight. It's even more intense. Next up, 100%. My last choice here will be a band I haven't talked about on the show at all, really, and that's Iced Earth with Alive in Athens. This is an absolutely killer fucking set. If you're into power metal, U.S. power metal specifically, but they play a European style of it, but they're a U.S. band. This is an absolutely killer fucking set. It's done in 2 nights in Athens, Greece. The crowd's fucking crazy. Matt Barlow on vocals, who's the band's best fucking vocalist. You hear everything you want to hear. This is another one this is a great fucking set. 3 discs. Wow. I think it's a 4 LP set. This is another one that I saw at, I want to say I saw it like Tempe Zia when I first started collecting, and it was like $60, which is a really good price. Wow. And I was like, no, I don't want to spend the money right now. And that was a good price. It's $100+ regularly. And so yeah, I had to throw this because I do absolutely adore this live album. This and one of their later greatest hits, this is what got me into the band for sure. So definitely highly, highly appreciate that. But awesome. That's live albums. I'm out of them. Unless you got anything to add.
No, I had 2 that I forgot that I put on here. Okay. So I put Alice in Chains and Honorable as well. So I don't have anything, right? Another one I put on here because I went through a Megadeth thing like last week and I got a little into that. Megadeth Live at the Cow Palace '92 is fucking so cool. Like Dave's guitar tone, like. And like, again, warts and all, like, I don't know the overdubs, but I've seen people say, like, I've read up on it in the forums and everything, it's mostly live, so it's mostly all real and everything else, like, because it was a radio broadcast, so from the radio broadcast to the actual album is not too different. And just the tone they have on the guitars is just so fucking cool, and it's just a good vibe. It's so awesome. Dave sounds good. He's not perfect, but he sounds good, and I fucking love it. I listened to that today. And fucking next level shit for sure. I hope they put that out at some point. I know they have Rude Awakening. It's another big one for a lot of people. And then A Night in Buenos Aires, right, is another one that people
that
love
one
a lot.
Night. That's my favorite one. Yeah, because that crowd's fucking insane. I think Rude Awakening, some of that's done here.
It is. It was done it was at Tucson and Mesa, I believe, right?
Yeah, because it's some of that shit's right after 9/11.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking insanity. So they have good live sets and everything. It's a varying degrees of live or whatever, right? Because of certain overdubs or whatever. But for my money, fucking that Cow Palace show is fucking really cool. So I like that a lot. Also, I went back into Pantera Live Proof. I love that fucking. That's a good one. Release too is so good because it's just so fucking loud, man. It's so fucking loud, so fucking tight. And that was the criticism I talked about earlier. The criticism upon release was that it wasn't a show. It wasn't a complete set from one show. It was pieced together throughout a tour. So from the Trendkill tour. So like they just kind of put everything together randomly and they released it. For my money, like you can tell it's not seamless fucking, one show. You can tell. But like everybody just sounds so good. Like Phil sounds great. The guitars sound great. The fucking drums are fucking powerful as shit. I dig it a lot. So I like that release a lot too.
Forgot about
that
today
one as well. Yeah, it's really cool. I like that a lot. So a couple of those, and then I tried to even do a Metallica live release, but I don't know. Like they have all so many, I didn't really want to go there. But there's a lot of good heavy live records for sure that I'm super into. I dig it a lot.
Yeah,
you can properly capture the bands. It sounds fucking awesome.
I debated on putting S&M on there because I do really enjoy S&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Metallica. That sounded really funny. That'd be a good clip. I really do enjoy S&M. The first Metallica with the symphony.
Yeah.
That is a really cool live record. No Leaf Clover is a fucking cool song too that they did for that. It's a great tune.
I fucking always hated it because I remember we watched that metal show and like I think a few other like different things. People talk shit about those shows. What the fuck? It's fucking awesome. It's really killer. It's really cool. Yeah. Maybe it's not metal or some shit. Cause I remember that was like one of the least metal things was Metallica doing S&M. Fuck that. It sounds cool as shit, man. It sounds awesome. Where else are you getting that? Where are you getting that fucking sound at? Except from those releases. And like I think there's been a few since then with different bands. To varying degrees of success, I guess. But the Metallica stuff, and even Josh said, I haven't listened to it, but Josh said S&M 2 is awesome too.
Yeah.
So
Josh. Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet, but anyways, guys, that is live album. So let us know, what are your favorite live albums? What did you like in our choices? What did you hate? Give us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of that good stuff. And we always end the episodes with the choosing of a topic. And tonight is my choice. And I'm looking over the list here, and there's one that I've been wanting to do. And I think we're just going to do it. We're going to do favorite music movies.
All right.
So either a biopic, like Walk the Line or Bohemian Rhapsody, or Airhead, like a movie that is music adjacent, like an Airheads, or even like a really good soundtrack that's a music movie, like Dazed and Confused or something like that, because I consider that like a music movie. Almost Famous. A lot of choices. So, or you can bring a documentary if you want, just something revolving around music. Either like about a band or a killer soundtrack. That's what we're going to do next time on the Living Deadwax podcast. But anyways, guys, we'll check you out next week. Take it easy. Peace.